Hello, hello, and welcome to day 3 of the Breaking Through Podcast Challenge, episode 17. I am so excited to share some wonderful things with you today. First and foremost, have you registered for the weekly recap and the workbook and to participate in some really fun prizes that we're going to be giving away? If you haven't yet registered for that, you can see that in the show notes. Be sure that you are registering. We've got some really cool things planned for you in regards to just sending you some goodies in your email. And I have to tell you, I'm so excited about this challenge, and its intention, it truly is at the heart of everything, is to really support you in closing the year and setting up for your next year in the most beautiful and the most expansive way so that you can unlock your next level, so you can unlock your next level of life and income. And so far, we've talked about reflecting and extracting memories and lessons as we're closing the 2023 chapter. We've talked about how your level of integrity is directly equated with your next up level. And today, what I'm really excited to dive in and talk with you about is a ritual that I do frequently, and I invite my clients to do this as well when they are setting goals. So, as I was taking myself through this as well this morning, I have a ritual that I was laying out the template of photos that I go through from the past year, and they go on a board. And this is also something, an activity that I do with my clients. And what it really is it's kind of like a vision board, but rather it ends up being a recollection board. And it's a board that I love so much because when you really look at it, it really becomes like this tangible piece that reflects I lived this year board. And, you guys have heard me talk about in the last episode and the episode before that, and it's part of my life. This year, we're still this year. It really was a very challenging year. And it never ceases to amaze me, though. I am a kinetic person, so I really enjoy, printing the pictures and cutting them out. And I light a candle and I light music, and I'm sitting on the floor and I'm just like cutting out each picture, and there's pages of them, right? And it's interesting because, I had created like a digital file, like a recollection album on my phone. And that was also like really a beautiful process of everything. However, like today when I sat down with the papers and I had my scissors and, it's almost like a ceremony. It's really kind of the way that it feels in my heart. And I am taking each page and I'm cutting each photo and I'm placing it on the board, not really specific. I wasn't getting super strategic at that point. However, I'm just like kind of laying them on the board, and then I'm picking up the next sheet and I'm cutting out each one of those photos. And it's just like this beautiful piece, I will tell you, there were moments that I cried. There were moments when I smiled. There were moments where I felt just, the overall feeling though truly wasn't sadness. It was a deep, deep gratitude of joy, of, man, it really is like when I look at it, it's like this capsule of illustration of my 2023. And when I reflect, there are moments of pain and there is still sadness. And also when I look at this board, it's like something where I go, man, what a life. What a life. And it just kind of always brings me back to this place of like, how intentional might we live if we kept this in mind every single day? It's this beautiful activity that just really does put you back into presence and reminds you to be present. Because I think sometimes, like each one of these pictures, as you layer it, it's like that happened, and then that happened, and then that happened, and then this happened, and then, and it's like, gosh, it really is like a page on top of a page on top of a page on top of a page, and this is my life. And gosh, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for this moment. I'm so grateful for this time. Oh my gosh, I remember that time. I remember that thing that, I was thinking about. I have a picture on there of my daughter, my oldest daughter, and I was in Kentucky. We were at the Louisville airport. I was flying her back to Florida, And we popped in at like this little restaurant that was really close to the gate. And I could recall and remember our conversation. And one of the things that she was sitting there talking to me about, she was so cute. She's wearing like this little hat, and her little shirt says like vacay on it. And it looks like a 90s shirt, like straight up. And, but I remembered her talking to me, and she was like, Mom, let's plan a trip to Paris. And we were talking about like all these different travels that would be just so fun and that we could plan and that we could do together, and the places she would love to see. And that was a really special moment for me. You know, it was a bonding moment. She had been with me. She had stayed up in Kentucky right after my mom had passed, and she was with me as we were like taking care of arrangements and things. And that's like a super special moment that like I have in my heart. Like in one of my mentors, she likes to call it a pocket locket. And I love that. I'm like, this is in my pocket locket. You know, if you think about like the biggest pocket locket ever, and if you just have like all these different memories that are like illustrated in photos, you know, it would be like a super fat pocket locket, right? If you think about that. However, that's one of those in my heart. And it's just so fun that, you know, you look at things a lot differently. You become a different person. You move differently when this is an anchor, and that you move from that place every single day, that you're intentional with that. And you see, when you believe that the story of your life is the greatest story that you'll ever tell, what happens is that you start to view, you start to live, and the way that you reflect on a year changes. Because you see, like when I look at all that, I'm like, you know, and I want this to be your reminder too. You're not starting over from scratch in 2024, right? Like some goals were hit, others weren't. Others most likely weren't hit. And others, that really just means that they just weren't a must for you, right? And that's okay. I can when I look at just, you know, assessment in terms of like Grit to Glory, our company, and revenue and programs that we did and certain things like that. There's certain goals that I set and they weren't achieved. You know, we're going to take them into the 2024 year, right? Probably even different, like in whatever that is. I'm going to be intentional about setting those. However, it's one of those things where that in reflection, it's not this invitation of like, oh, I didn't do that. Because the reality of it is that in those seasons, when I look at that and there's an assessment of that, it's like, that's okay, because something else was actually in that season more in an energetic alignment for me. And so I think it's important that we look at it from that context as well. You know, I'll tell you the things about setting goals is this: if it's not a must, there's some part that's available for us for it not to happen. And so as we're talking about this concept today around, well, it's not a concept, it's something I want to invite you to integrate in setting up your year. And that is that you grab an index card. Grab an index card for your next goal. And when you're writing it out, when you're writing out what your goal is, check in with yourself and say, okay, what is a must for me right now? What is a non-negotiable? So as you're getting ready to come into the first quarter, what is a non-negotiable? What is a must for me right now? And I always like to write it out on the card in this way. I am so happy and grateful now that I have, that I be, that I do. You can decide whatever that is. I oftentimes like to make it typically it's some sort of number that it's a monetary number of some sort that I can track as well strategically. However, also being intentional about that too. You know, what is a must? Also on that goal card writing, you know, I see, I feel, and I hear, thank you, more please. And when I say I see, I feel, and I hear, you know, take a moment to write that down. I see this in my bank account. Like, what are you going to see whenever you achieve this? I see myself calling up, you know, my business partner and saying, oh my gosh, we did it. You know, I feel so excited. I feel so happy. I feel so much gratitude. I hear my, you know, chimes going off on my PayPal, like whatever it is, but being intentional about that. That's going to help actually bring that to you faster, okay? And something I want to invite you to do as you're forming this goal is to take yourself through these steps. So one, taking the goal through, does it light you up? Meaning, does it feel expansive to you? Two, is it compelling and exciting enough to you for you to be willing to get uncomfortable? So this is an assessment with self, right? Like only you can answer that question for yourself. Three, is it something that you find yourself thinking about a lot? Because we tend to do that. Things that we're super excited about or that we feel very, very passionate about, it's something that we think about a lot. So take this goal through that. 4, is it from you versus from others? Okay, so is this something that you desire for yourself versus it being a potential projection that maybe someone has placed on you? So checking in with yourself on that. And then 5, asking yourself, if there were no consequences or limitations, what would you do? And have fun with this. Journal on this. Allow yourself to dream big. Permission yourself to get clear on this. And really anchoring into this whole piece of, what will you see? What will you feel? What will you hear once you have it? And can you see and feel that in your mind? This is one of the most important components of this entire process. You see, your subconscious does not know what is real or not real. And this is something I love that we do with our students. We deep dive like even further on this inside of the Institute, where I really take a moment to teach you how to set and create achievable outcomes that are supportive to your subconscious mind. Because here's the thing, we are constantly creating all the time. And so this is such a beautiful invitation for you to get intentional about what you want your next quarter to be. And this is also such a beautiful illustration and invitation for you to step into the next level of self-leadership. So write it out on your index card, and then I want you to keep that index card with you. And every moment that you get, visualize that outcome as it already is. It already is. It already is. It already is. Declare it as it is already so. And it's the declaration, and it's also the visualization. Okay? So visualizing time that is super powerful, okay? And it's going to be super supportive for you as you are visualizing this, is to see it as though it's happening through your eyes versus seeing yourself in the picture. And I think the way that I meant to say that, as I'm like looking at my notes, is a visualizing tip that is super powerful. I'm just keeping it real with you, okay? At first I was looking at my notes and I was like, what is a visualizing time? Visualizing time is very, very powerful. It's very, very important. And also visualizing this tip that I'm sharing with you is super, super powerful. And it's very, very supportive. And that is, and I'm going to reinstate that for you so it comes a little clearer, is that you are seeing it through as though it is happening through your eyes versus seeing yourself in the picture. Because what this does is this is going to cue your subconscious that it's something that it needs to be aware of. And then it goes to work on attracting different things to your reality that are going to be supportive in the outcome of that visualization. So seeing it through your eyes in your visualization versus seeing yourself in the picture. Okay? Super powerful tip. So when you've journaled and you wrote on your index card, we need to share it on socials. Okay? You don't have to necessarily share the specific goal if you don't want to. However, share that you have completed it and tag me in it at Charity Michelle Schaefer. You can use the hashtag Breaking Through Challenge. And I am so excited to just support you in this journey, to cheer along for you, to celebrate when it comes to fruition. And I will see you in the next episode.